They say love makes you blind. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes you choose to close your eyes because the truth is just too painful to see. My name is Isha, and this is the story of how the man I loved with all my heart played the cruelest game imaginable, and how karma hit him so hard he wished he'd never met me. It started 3 years ago. I was 25, fresh out of university with a degree in graphic design. I had just landed my first real job at a creative agency in the city. Life felt full of possibilities. That's when I met him, Faison. He was everything I thought I wanted. Tall, charming, with this effortless confidence that drew people to him. He worked in real estate, always dressed sharp, always had the right words to say. We met at a mutual friend's wedding. He asked me to dance. I said yes. And just like that, my world tilted on its axis. The courtship was like a dream. He'd send me flowers at work. He'd pick me up after late meetings. He'd text me good morning and good night without fail. He made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. 6 months in, he proposed. Not with a grand gesture, but something intimate. Just us, on a rooftop under the stars. Aisha, he said, holding my hands. I've never believed in soulmates until I met you. Marry me, let's build a life together. I said yes without hesitation. Because I loved him. Because I trusted him. Because I believed every single word that came out of his mouth. I was so foolish. The wedding was beautiful. Small, elegant, exactly what we both wanted. My parents adored him. His family welcomed me with open arms. Everything seemed perfect. For the first year, it was. We moved into a small apartment. I continued my job, he continued his. We were building our life together, one day at a time. But slowly, things started to change. Faison became distant. He'd come home late, claiming work was demanding. His phone was always face down. He'd get irritated if I asked too many questions. Aisha, why are you being so clingy? He'd snap. I work hard all day, can't I have some space? I convinced myself it was just stress, that every marriage goes through phases, that I needed to be more understanding. So I tried harder. I cooked his favorite meals. I made sure the house was perfect. I buried my own exhaustion from long work hours just to make him happy. But it was never enough. One evening, I noticed something strange. A notification popped up on his phone while he was in the shower. It was from a contact saved as Client Sarah. The message read, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Miss you already." My heart stopped. Clients don't send messages like that. I knew. Deep down, I knew. But I didn't confront him. Not yet, because I was scared. Scared of what I'd find. Scared of losing him. Instead, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. And that's when I saw the truth I'd been too blind to see. It took me 2 weeks to gather the courage. 2 weeks of watching him lie effortlessly. 2 weeks of pretending I didn't notice the perfume that wasn't mine. 2 weeks of dying inside. Then one day, he said he had an important client meeting in another city. He'd be gone for the weekend. I smiled and kissed him goodbye, packed his bag, wished him a safe trip. And the moment he left, I opened his laptop. I know, I violated his privacy, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and I was desperate for the truth. His laptop wasn't password protected, careless, or maybe he just thought I'd never check. I went through his emails, his messages, his social media. And there it was, all of it, the entire ugly truth laid bare. Sarah wasn't a client, she was his girlfriend, and not just any girlfriend. She'd been in his life for 5 years, 2 years before he even met me. There were pictures, videos, messages that made me want to throw up. They'd gone on vacations together, celebrated anniversaries. He'd told her he loved her. All while he was with me. But here's the part that destroyed me completely. In one of their conversations, Sarah asked him about me. His response, "She's just a convenient cover. My parents were pressuring me to get married. Aisha was the safe choice. Religious, traditional, won't ask too many questions. But you're the one I actually love. Just be patient. I'll figure something out." I read that message 10 times. Each time, it hurt more than the last. I wasn't his wife. I was his shield, his excuse, his cover story so he could keep living his double life. I sat there in the dark, staring at that screen, feeling something inside me shatter so completely. I wasn't sure I'd ever be whole again. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My mind was racing with 1,000 questions. How long was he planning to keep this going? Was he ever going to tell me? Did any of it mean anything to him? Did he ever love me at all? The next morning, I went to work like a zombie. My colleagues asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was just tired. But inside, I was planning. See, the old Aisha would have confronted him immediately, would have cried, screamed, begged for answers. But something had shifted. The betrayal had burned away the soft parts of me. What remained was cold, calculating, determined. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. I was going to make him pay. But first, I needed to know more. I needed to understand the full extent of his lies. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. It cost me a month's salary, but it was worth every rupee. The investigator came back with a report that made my blood run cold. Faison and Sarah had been living together in a separate apartment for the past year. The apartment I thought was his office space, that was their love nest. He'd been splitting his time between us. Some nights with me, the wife he never wanted. Some nights with her, the woman he actually loved. And the business trips, most of them were fake. He'd just go to that apartment and spend days with her. The investigator even had pictures of them holding hands, kissing, looking at each other the way Faison never looked at me. That's when I realized something important. I didn't want him back. I didn't want to fix this marriage. I didn't want his apologies or explanations. I wanted justice. Revenge isn't about acting impulsively. It's about being smart, strategic, patient. I spent the next month gathering evidence, screenshots, bank statements showing he'd been funding that second apartment, credit card bills with charges from romantic restaurants and hotels. I documented everything, quietly, carefully, without him suspecting a thing. To him, I was still the same Aisha, the devoted wife who had dinner ready when he came home, who smiled and asked about his day, who believed his lies. But behind that smile, I was building a case. Not just against him, but against everything he'd built his life on. His reputation, his credibility, his carefully constructed image. See, Faison wasn't just any real estate agent. He worked for his family's business, a well-respected firm with a pristine reputation. His father was a pillar of the community. His brothers were all involved in the business. And family reputation, that was everything to them. I also learned something interesting from the investigator. Sarah had no idea he was actually married. She thought I was just someone his parents had arranged for him to meet occasionally. She thought she was the real relationship. He'd been lying to both of us, playing us both, thinking he was clever enough to maintain two lives without consequences. But here's what Faison didn't know. I wasn't just a naive girl with a design degree. I was good at what I did. Very good. I understood branding, reputation management, and how quickly a good image could be destroyed. And I was about to teach him a very expensive lesson. I started small, strategic, calculated. First, I reached out to Sarah. Not directly, but through a fake social media profile. I posed as someone from Faison's past, someone who wanted to warn her about him. I sent her screenshots, messages between Faison and me, our wedding photos, documents proving we were legally married. At first, she didn't believe it. She called me a liar, said I was just a jealous ex trying to ruin his life. So I sent her more. Bank statements showing joint accounts, photos from our honeymoon, a copy of our marriage certificate. The messages stopped. For 3 days, silence. Then she called the number I'd left. Her voice was shaking. Is this real? Are you actually his wife? Yes, I said calmly, and he's been lying to both of us. That conversation lasted 2 hours. We compared notes, timelines, lies, promises he'd made to both of us. Turns out he'd told her he was planning to leave me. that he was just waiting for the right time, that his parents were pressuring him, but he'd figure it out. The same story, different versions, both of us believing we were the chosen one. By the end of that call, Sarah was done with him, completely done. "I want to help you," she said. "Whatever you're planning, count me in." And just like that, I had an ally, someone who knew Faison's secrets as well as I did, someone who wanted to see him pay just as much as I did. The wheels were in motion, and Faison had no idea what was coming. 2 weeks later, Faison came home excited. His company was hosting a big event, an awards ceremony for top performers. He'd been nominated. The entire family would be there. Clients, business partners, everyone who mattered. "Aisha, you have to come," he said, actually smiling at me for the first time in months. "This is a big night for me, for us." I agreed. Of course I agreed, because this was exactly the opportunity I'd been waiting for. The night of the event, I dressed carefully. Elegant but not flashy. I wanted to blend in, to be invisible until the right moment. The venue was beautiful, a 5-star hotel ballroom. Everyone was dressed to impress. Faison was in his element, shaking hands, laughing, playing the role of successful businessman and devoted son. His father gave a speech, talked about family values, integrity, building a business on trust. The irony wasn't lost on me. Halfway through the evening, during the networking session, something happened. The large screens around the room, meant for displaying company achievements, suddenly changed. A video started playing, a compilation I'd created, carefully edited. Every screenshot, every message, every piece of evidence of Faison's double life. Pictures of him with Sarah, messages where he called me a convenient cover, bank statements showing his second apartment, everything. The room went silent, completely silent. Everyone's eyes were glued to the screens. Faison's face went white. He looked around frantically, trying to find who was controlling the screens, trying to stop it. But it was too late. The damage was done. Everyone saw his father, his brothers, his colleagues, his clients. Everything he'd built, every lie he'd told, was exposed in 3 minutes. Chaos erupted. People were whispering, pointing, pulling out their phones to record. Faison tried to leave, but his father grabbed his arm. "What is this?" his father demanded, his voice shaking with rage. "What have you done?" Faison couldn't speak. He just stood there, frozen, watching his entire world crumble. I walked up to him, calmly, quietly, so only he could hear. "You said I wouldn't ask too many questions. You were wrong." Then I turned to his father. "Sir, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but I thought you deserved to know the kind of man your son really is." His father looked at me, then at Faison, then back at the screen. His face was a mixture of shock, disgust, and shame. "Get out," he said to Faison. "Get out of this event, out of this business, out of my sight." "Dad, please, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain. I saw everything. Everyone saw everything." I didn't stay for the rest. I'd seen what I needed to see. I walked out of that ballroom with my head held high. Behind me, I could hear the whispers, the judgment, the complete destruction of Faison's reputation. It was better than any confrontation, better than any argument, because this wasn't just between us anymore. This was public, permanent, irreversible. Sarah had sent me a message earlier that day. She'd left him too, packed her things and disappeared, blocked him everywhere. He'd lost both of us in the span of a few hours. The next few weeks were strange. Faison tried to reach me, called, texted, showed up at my workplace. Each time I had security escort him out. He sent his mother to beg on his behalf. I told her the same thing I told everyone. I wanted a divorce, clean, simple, no drama. His family didn't fight it. In fact, they expedited the process. They wanted to distance themselves from the scandal as quickly as possible. The real estate business took a hit. Clients left. Partnerships ended. His father had to work overtime to salvage what was left of their reputation. Faison lost his position in the company. Last I heard, he was working for a small firm on the outskirts of the city. No fancy car, no fancy apartment, just the consequences of his choices. As for me, I threw myself into work, took on bigger projects, got promoted, started building the life I deserved. The life I should have been building all along instead of wasting energy on someone who never valued me. I moved to a new apartment, made new friends, started therapy to work through the trauma and trust issues. Slowly, I started healing, not because I forgot what happened, but because I chose not to let it define me. People asked if I felt guilty about exposing him so publicly, about ruining his career and reputation. My answer was always the same. He ruined his own life. I just held up a mirror and made sure everyone could see what I saw. A year later, I ran into him, completely by accident, at a coffee shop near my office. He looked different, tired, older. The confidence was gone, replaced by something hollow. He saw me and froze. For a moment, I thought he'd leave, but instead he walked over. "Aisha," he said quietly, "can we talk just for a minute?" Part of me wanted to say no, to walk away without a word, but curiosity got the better of me. "1 minute," I said. We sat at a corner table. The silence was heavy. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "I know it doesn't change anything. I know it doesn't fix what I did, but I need you to know I'm sorry." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I realized something. I felt nothing. No anger, no pains, nothing. "Why did you do it?" I asked. "Why marry me if you didn't want to?" He exhaled slowly. "Because I was a coward. I wanted to make my parents happy while also living my life the way I wanted. I thought I could have both. I was selfish, stupid. I destroyed everything." "Yes," I said simply, "you did." "I lost everything, Aisha, my job, my reputation, even Sarah. She won't talk to me. My family barely speaks to me. I'm paying for what I did, every single day." "Good," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. "Because what you did to me, to Sarah, to everyone who trusted you, that deserves consequences." He nodded. "I know, I wanted you to know that I regret it, all of it." I stood up. "Faison, I appreciate the apology, but it doesn't change anything. You made your choices, now you live with them, just like I had to live with the pain you caused me." Are you happy now?" he asked. I smiled, a real smile. "I'm getting there, every day I'm getting there." And with that, I walked out, for the last time, leaving him sitting there with nothing but his regrets. So what did I learn from all this? What's the point of this whole painful, messy story? I learned that betrayal changes you. It either breaks you or builds you, and you get to choose which one. I learned that revenge isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's just about living well, about refusing to let someone else's actions destroy your future. I learned that closure doesn't always come from conversations or apologies. Sometimes it comes from within, from deciding that you've carried the pain long enough and it's time to let it go. Most importantly, I learned that my worth was never determined by how someone else treated me. Faison's betrayal said everything about him and nothing about me. I was enough. I always was. I just needed to believe it myself. These days, I'm focused on building the life I want. I'm taking classes, traveling, dating again, cautiously, but with hope. I'm surrounding myself with people who value honesty and integrity. Am I completely healed? No, some wounds leave scars, but I'm okay with that, because those scars remind me of how strong I am, how much I survived. And whenever someone asks me about my story, I tell them this. You can't control what others do to you, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to be a victim or a survivor. You can choose to stay bitter or become better. I chose to become better. And that's the real revenge, not the public exposure, not the consequences he faced, but the fact that I refused to let his betrayal define my life. He played me, but destiny played him harder, and I walked away free. If someone shows you who they really are, believe them, the first time. Don't wait for the second betrayal. Don't make excuses. Don't convince yourself it'll get better. Walk away while you still have your dignity, your peace, your self-respect. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming so happy, so successful, so whole, that their absence becomes irrelevant. They played their game. Let karma play the final move. And you just focus on winning at life.